Hello, everybody, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for February 19th, 2025. I am Mayor Watt, and along with the sentient AI, we're going to talk about 10 articles. I run ohmtown.com, and it aggregates all kinds of news. We're actually adding a couple of channels to ohmtown.com. Maybe you'll be interested in the new ones. Go over and check it all out. And then we'll announce the new ones later when they're all ready. But we already have 10 articles all set up, so let's knock them down. The first one we talk about is Thicc Panther. Then we're going to talk about trademark refilings, KFC to become TFC, Apple iconic inventions, Rivian Dune edition, copyright loophole in AI, what the juice, IVF clinic sued, kid named Whoops, fish recognized divers, and a dancing robot. Like I said earlier, everything's powered by ohmtown.com, so go over there and become a citizen, and then follow us here on Twitch and over on YouTube. YouTube already has all of the articles embedded in the description and the show notes, and over on Twitch you can hit !NSN, and Omatron will spit out the articles in the order that we're going over them, so go check that out too. See ya. When I say see ya, I get the impression that maybe somebody's going, oh, the show's over. So I guess I need to fix it.
If they heard it by then, they might.
Oh, God. That's horrible. No, come back. Wait.
Like, I just logged in for the show.
Hello, sentient AI from the future.
Hello, Mayor Watt from the present.
All right. Oh, it's been a long day. So let's get into these articles. They always are a great distraction from the whatever's going on in the world, because this is just news. Sometimes fun, sometimes fascinating, sometimes quirky, sometimes humorous.
Sometimes
it's a thick cat.
Interesting. I mean, it just depends.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. So scientists find the heaviest Florida panther on record. A giant cat tipping the scales at 166 pounds. So it's a thick cat. I was going to say a giant cougar, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know about that. How did they find it? Like, did it sit on somebody and they went, wow, this is a big cat?
I think they tag them. So wildlife officials in Florida captured and collared the adult male feline during a routine population check in late January. So Sarah Kuda over at SmithsonianMag.com, or Smithsonian Magazine, as the kids in the know call it. No? Okay. Anyway,
I don't think so.
Holding that paw up doesn't really mean much to me unless their hand and that paw are the same size.
Well, I think the paw is larger than the person's hand.
I can't tell because the perspective makes that hand not look right.
Yeah, it's not the ideal photo for that.
So there's the cat, still knocked out. Its face is all wrapped up, and it has a little clip holding its tongue out. Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, it's around 10 years old. The hefty cat was sedated and outfitted with a GPS tracking collar during a routine population check in late January, which is exactly how I was found a couple of years ago. They sedated and outfitted me with a GPS tracker. It was awkward finding it.
Have they found all kinds of good data from you?
They know exactly what my migration patterns are. So biologists also collected blood and tissue samples as part of a comprehensive health assessment of the animal. Do you think this is what aliens are doing with people?
I mean, that sure sounds like it. And if you believe movies.
They just bag them and tag them. So a GPS collar deployed on panthers allows researchers to track movement patterns, survival, reproduction, and habitat use. Man, so invasive. Jeez. All of which help inform science-based management strategies that are critical to the recovery of this population. The unusually large Florida panther. Wow, shaming them on size again.
Yeah, I know. Do you think it's embarrassed in front of its cat buddies?
Brethren? Buddies? It's cat drinking buddies?
I wasn't sure what to call its fellow cats.
over at the pond. So the unusually large Florida panther was captured at the Babcock Ranch Preserve, a roughly 68,000 acre protected area owned by the state. He'd been spotted on the trail cameras for years before state wildlife officials used specially trained hound dogs to corner the cat in a tree. Oh, freaked out, and then they dart him and poke him.
That's sad. Although I would maybe think that the cat was like, oh, those are nothing compared to me.
So they don't really say that a normal cat is, whatever, but down towards the bottom they do. Okay, so this cat is 166 pounds. This means that the male Florida panthers tracked in the state since 1978 have weighed between 102 and 154 pounds. So this thing is 12 pounds over the largest that they've found before.
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's a good sign for their population or not, or maybe it's irrelevant. Yeah. Since they're endangered. Like, maybe that means that they've got adequate prey.
Over the last 5 decades, 50 years, the cat's population has slowly rebounded from 120 to 230. Somewhere in there, Florida panthers roaming around the Sunshine State. All right.
Be on the lookout for the, how much is it? 166 pounds?
Yep.
Panther. Like, if you see that coming toward you, you might want to slowly back away.
Yeah. Or throw it a cheeseburger. Next article is over in Right Protect. We rarely hear from them, but anyway, when doing the same thing over and over isn't insane, trademark refilings in China. Many people know about trademark filings, but have you ever heard of trademark refilings? Before 2023, registering a trademark in China often involved filing several iterations of the same trademark application consecutively, so-called refilings of the original mark, before one of the marks proceeded to registration. This was often quite frustrating for those not used to the practice. To add to this headache, many brand owners have been told that they should refile a trademark after it has already been registered. As a result, it isn't unheard of to have 5 to 10 filings for the same mark, and the costs definitely add up.
So I did not know that. I think that's an interesting practice.
I don't know how to pronounce their last name. Amy Hsiao and Tyler King put the article together. I mean, Tyler King is pretty easy. Anyway, it's over at ipwatchdog.com. And so, yeah, they apparently, refilings still hold a valuable place in China's trademark landscape. Brand owners are already seeing benefits from China's new rules of suspension of examination during trademark review procedures. So, the old way, it says, to understand just how helpful the new rules of suspension of examination are, let's look at the way that the CNIPA examination process used to work. Prior to June 2023, the CNIPA did not allow suspension of examinations for trademark applications. This is especially problematic when considering the examinations typically concluded in 6 to 8 months, while actions to remove registered trademarks, such as non-use cancellations, would take 1 to 2 years. In practice, this meant that the application was blocked by another cited trademark would be almost guaranteed to lose validity, even if the cited mark was pending on a non-use cancellation.
Well, that's fascinating. I mean, because that definitely impacts people that perhaps should have been granted trademarks.
Yeah, exactly. So the new rules don't do away with the value of refilings altogether. Under China's trademark law, non-use cancellation actions can be filed against marks that have been registered for more than 3 years. Non-use cancellation actions require the owner of the targeted mark to demonstrate that the mark has been used on the relevant goods or services in a substantive capacity at some point during the 3 years prior to the non-use filing. So what you're going to end up, people are going to go, we haven't seen that mark, so it's non-use. They file a claim, and all you have to do is just keep on refiling or showing some when you're pinged. Right. I used it in 3 years. So you're still going to get this.
It's an odd system.
Yeah, but marks get abandoned pretty easily, and From experience, unless you have the money to keep on defending it, it's almost useless to have a trademark. Because while somebody can get a trademark, they have to demonstrate that you weren't using that mark at any time during the thing. And if they know about you, then they know that you've been using it. So therefore, they can't get their mark.
Right. Yeah,
so,
it's pretty tough.
Yeah. And usually a Google search will pull up somebody that, well, how long have you been using it? Well, I can demonstrate that I've been using it in commerce since ... I've owned the domain, for instance.
Well, plus trademark is interesting because it's specific to industry. And of course, where that begins and ends isn't always clear, particularly in the age of internet business.
Yeah, and IP in general, right? I mean, you could sit there and go, well, I'm in music, so my trademark covers me in music, but I also have apparel, so I've got everything.
Exactly.
What a pain in the ass. Anyway, next article's over in Hatch Ideas. KFC to become Texas Fried Chicken in headquarter move to low-tax state. Dismay in Texas. A decision of Yum Brands to relocate corporate headquarters of fast food chain. KFC, the fast food chain previously known as Kentucky Fried Chicken, has come in for some heat after announcing its plans to move its corporate headquarters from the state after which it's named to Texas.
I wonder how many customers even know what KFC means. Because I think, didn't they used to have the full name and then it became KFC, or is that wrong?
No, you're right. So hold on, let me find out.
They pulled a Federal Express.
Yeah. So 1991, it changed its name to KFC. It used to be Kentucky Fried Chicken. So the chain's parent company, Yum Brands, told investors it would move about 100 employees from its office in Louisville, Kentucky, more than 800 miles south to the city of Plano in Texas, a.k.a. Plano, Texas? Why not call it Plano, Texas?
Well, that's also interesting because Pizza Hut is headquartered there, and I think they're under the same parent.
Yeah, they are. Yep. So the article is by Joanna Partridge over at theguardian.com, and they've got much more about this article, but I thought it was really interesting that KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, is moving its headquarters because of its merger and acquisition. It's a equity company, and so they're trying to save money, maximize profit for themselves, which meant, well, let's move to a lower tax. And it makes enough fiduciary sense to move headquarters and 100 people because the tax benefits are that great.
And it's tied to their own name. That's the thing that's really astounding. Now, having a state name on a large company probably doesn't make a lot of sense in modern times, but KFC has been around for a while, so maybe it did make sense at the time.
There's almost a whole sentence here. KFC, real meals to go to Texas. Needs a little thing down here.
That would have been funny if
the car has
put
Texas
some artwork
license
for this. Exactly.
That's funny. Anyway, you can go over to The Guardian and read more about this. The next article is over in Smack Talk. Apple just discontinued one of its most iconic inventions. I didn't know that they have iconic inventions that aren't like the iPhone or something like that.
Well, that's actually what I thought this would be, something like the iPhone, although I would have been surprised with that, but it wasn't quite what I expected. I did peek ahead at this one.
Oh my gosh.
I wanted to see if the iPhone was going away or the iPad.
Jeez, you're not supposed to. So Apple discontinued the home button on the iPod Touch when it stopped making iPods in 2022. Later that year, Apple dropped the home button from the iPad line with the 10th generation model. It took a few years for the home button to leave the iPhone line, but that day has finally come. Goodbye, it says here. Zach Hall over at 9to5mac.com put the article together. And I guess, what are they saying? Discontinuing the iPhone SE also marks the end of a home button on any Apple product. Even in 2025, Apple sold an iPhone model that had the design of the 2017 iPhone 8 that had a home button. Starting today, that's no longer the case. They've gotten rid of the home buttons.
Well, if you have an Apple product with a home button, you better hold on to it.
Yeah, now you gotta make a digital version of the home button.
Wasn't there a lot of uproar when they started discontinuing it from certain products? But I wonder now, do people even remember that it had a home button?
Yeah.
Like if they're using one of the products that's already moved over.
People don't really care. There's just some outrage for a brief blip of time, just like the mini jack. You know, some people don't just really like that mini jack.
Oh yeah, that was another big uproar.
Yeah, and I kind of agree because my in-ear monitors are mini jacks, so that's helping me connect. I don't have Bluetooth lag or anything like that. I don't know. I could care less if my phone has it because I want to be wireless. I don't mind being tethered to my studio.
As long as you're not trying to walk away and forgetting that you're wired in.
Yeah, and then I yeet myself to the floor real quick.
I mean, that would make for some entertaining non sequitur news if that happened.
Yeah, if somebody rings the dinner bell, then I get up real fast and it just shoots me down onto the floor. Yet my head goes.
Oh no.
Anyway, so yeah, these have been around. People got really upset with the click wheel, the wheel that used to be on the iPod. It was this giant wheel. People got bent out of shape when that was gone too. People got bent out of shape when the mini jack disappeared. The mini plug, the headphone
I don't think
jack.
people like change very much, but then they usually probably adapt.
Yeah, it's the Reddit. What do they call it? The Reddit. What is that called? What should the you know how Reddit just said, you'll be back.
Yeah, like
That's,
the Reddit.
I don't know. I can't come up with something.
Slogan or something. That's not the right word.
See, and that thing is back now. I've got that little gray bar.
The Reddit mantra.
Sure, I don't know. You'll be back. Everybody's all whiny about it. That's funny. That's kind of like what the guy said, you know. You'll be back. Let's keep going. Next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Hey, it's the name of the show. Oh my gosh, it's almost like we knew what we were doing when we created the name of this show. It used to be a hometown daily news show, but
I think Non Sequitur News is more fitting.
I think so too, considering the hop, skip, and jump we do through the news.
I mean, we've already talked about fried chicken
and iPhones,
home buttons, and now we're talking about a Rivian
and a fat Panther. So Rivian's new Dune edition lets you channel your inner Fremen. The new special edition EV start at $100,000. I'm rounding up a whole $100. Rivian announced the California Dune edition in its R1 electric vehicles with 20-inch all-terrain wheels, a new paint color, a protective underbody shield for those with a desire for some serious off-roading, and what? A massive supercharger to follow them around after 45 minutes of off-roading?
I mean, I was hoping it would have like the wings for the ornithopter mode.
Right. Hold on. So this is the R1. You know what? I just did a search for Rivian R1 battery life, and it pulled up the Rabbit R1.
Okay, that is weird. And that's not a good sign for its battery life. Right?
Yeah, so the standard battery has 270-mile range. Let's push it to 400.
That's pretty good for EV.
Let's do the larger battery, and it has 410 miles. So you can get 200 miles out before you have to turn around.
Right. I mean, but that's very high for an EV. But we know, I mean, we've talked about that topic on here before.
Yeah, it's always diminishing. So the article is by Andrew J. Hawkins over at TheVerge.com. The deck statement says the latest special The latest special edition EVs are aimed at off-roading in the deep sand. Well, we know that some trucks can't handle the snow. I wonder if they can handle a little bit of sand.
That's a good question.
But they are so damn heavy. I just don't see that. So the company says the California Dune Edition vehicles are built to tackle the toughest terrains. Rivian's tri-motor EVs offer a number of distinct drive modes, including soft sand. Soft sand.
It seems like it'd be sinking in there, but
I think so too. But now the automaker is building a vehicle specifically for those desert adventures. 850 horsepower, 1,103 pound-feet of torque. It goes 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds with a range estimated of 329 miles, but it's EPA estimated, so who knows. The R1T truck started at $100,000. The R1S SUV goes to $106,000. That's what the SUV looks like. But I just... This is range, okay? So this is not going up a hill. This isn't in sand. This isn't under load. This is just
not
driving.
In the rain.
Not
and
in the
you know
rain.
what I don't see out there in the desert?
Chargers.
Yeah.
Did I steal your wind there?
No, I mean, that's what I was asking. They're not, I mean, where are you going to find one?
You're not. That's why I said, I guess it's going to come with an airlift subscription to Uber Airlines that's going to fly a helicopter over and grab you. It's nutty. Let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today. EU accused of leaving devastating copyright loophole in the AI Act. An architect of EU copyright law has said legislation is needed to protect writers, musicians, and creatives left exposed by an irresponsible legal gap in the bloc's Artificial Intelligence Act. The intervention came as 15 cultural organizations wrote to the European Commission this week warning that draft rules to implement the AI Act are taking several steps backwards on copyright, while one writer spoke of a devastating loophole. Really curious what it is. Jennifer Rankin put this article together. They're over at The Guardian. So Voss said a legal gap opened up after the conclusion of the EU's AI Act, which meant that copyright was not enforceable in this area. What I do not understand is that we are supporting big tech instead of protecting European creative ideas and content. So systems that can generate text, images, or music with a simple text prompt is what the law says. Axel Voss, a German center-right member of the European Parliament who played a key role in writing the EU's 2019 copyright directive, said that the law was not conceived to deal with generative AI models. So it's not even in there. The EU's AI Act, which came into force last year, was already in the works when ChatGPT, an AI chatbot that can generate essays, jokes, and job applications, burst into public consciousness in late 2022, becoming the fastest-growing consumer application. Voss said that he had been unable to get majorities of EU lawmakers to ensure strong copyright protection when the issue emerged in the late stages of negotiating the AI Act. So the AI Act states that tech firms must comply with 2019 copyright law, which includes an exemption for text and data mining.
Oh, interesting.
Very interesting. The introduction of the TDM exemption, text and data mining exemption, is that in the AI Act was a misunderstanding. This view was reinforced by a significant academic study last year by the legal scholar Tim Dornis and the computer scientist Sebastian Stober, which concluded that the training of generative AI models on published materials could not be considered a case of text and data mining, but copyright infringement. But this is last year. What's being enforced is 6-year-old law.
Right, so that's the first problem. Right.
Yep.
I mean, there wasn't even really generative AI out there when.
Right.
Right. That's part of the problem. It needs to catch up.
Yeah, and they're calling it data mining, text and data mining, because for instance, they have a German best-selling author who's been translated into 37 languages, and they basically can scupper up all of that information, and it's data mining, but it's actually copyright infringement. If my main concern is the nature of that data set. If it hasn't been purchased and is verbatim stored for exact duplication, then I have a problem with it. Just like I can't remember a whole paragraph, or not paragraph, I can't memorize a book and then write it out verbatim. I can summarize to my heart's content. I can sell Cliff's notes until Mayor Watt's notes. Oh my gosh.
Right, because those aren't the same work.
Right. But AI has the potential to reproduce in whole works, potentially.
And that's where the problem is. And we don't always know what these models are doing.
Right.
Like a lot of the artists, and I use that term loosely, like to mean other, not just like visual art, but are claiming that that's happening. The public doesn't necessarily know what's occurring unless they're very familiar with the work and happen to see it spit out exactly.
So the bigger generative AIs that I have used, I have not detected this before, but with the smaller ones that are kind of homebrew, I can actually still see what amounts to the artist's signature in the artwork in the bottom right corner.
That's fascinating. I mean, that's what artists have been claiming. We just haven't, we don't usually witness it.
Yeah, but things like Midjourney, I don't see it. But in other AIs, where I'm like, I don't like this. I don't like that it seems to be trained and it isn't intelligent enough to recontextualize in its entirety a piece of AI generated work. It's basically taking somebody else's work and then rejiggering a few things, and voila, I'm supposed to believe and trust that this isn't stepping on somebody. Yeah, I have a problem with that kind of AI, but Midjourney, I've never seen somebody's art wholesale. I don't see a signature in the bottom corner, or something like that.
You don't see clear evidence that it's, okay, that's that clone, artist's actual work.
And sometimes I'll use TinEye, which is an image reverse lookup engine, to see if there is something similar to what I have generated.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't want
that
to
was
come close.
Available.
Yeah, I don't want to catch any. I don't want to come across like I'm just cloning somebody else's work. But I have to use AI because there is no way in hell I can pay an artist for all of the little bits of artwork that I generate. I mean, or would need. So it's an impossibility. Anyway, and where I can, I do. Right? So I hire artists to do stuff.
Yeah, for specific projects.
Right. Where I want something that isn't generated by AI. At any rate, there's more in this article, but essentially there's a hole in the AI Act, and it's because it's 6 years old already. It's looking at 2019.
Which is ancient in terms of AI development.
Yep. Yep.
Or at least consumer-facing AI development.
Yeah. The behind-the-scenes stuff, government level and corporate behind the scenes with higher-level paid consumers. It's even beyond what we see. Okay, let's keep going. The next article is over on WarCrafters. Amazon apparently thought it was going to compete. This is the actual title, by the way. Amazon.
You mean it's not your language, gonna?
Gonna, no. And this thing is a giant paragraph. So Amazon apparently thought it was gonna compete with Steam since the Orange Box, but Prime Gaming's former VP admits that gamers already had a solution to their problems. This is from PC Gamer, by the way.
Are we done with the article? Oh, wait, that was just the headline.
That was just the headline. I will never understand, dear reader, why we keep running into this baffling issue of Valve and PC gaming in general being underestimated. starting at its roots when basically no one thought it would work as a distribution platform, and extending into the modern age. Ethan Evans, who was the former VP of Prime Gaming at Amazon until 2020, took to LinkedIn recently to share his wisdom as to why the giant never toppled Valve. And basically they thought they could just throw money at the problem. No, they need it. The only way that you're going to dethrone Valve and Steam is if you make it frictionless and more cost effective for the developers.
And good variety and availability of games.
Yep. And ultimately, I think giving rights back to the consumer. I want for sale doctrine back. I want ownership back. I don't want a perpetual license. I don't want you to touch it after I buy it unless it's for an update and not to sit there and change something fundamentally. I want to be able to sell it to somebody. And if you want a piece of that action, then fine. Enumerate it so that we can all agree to it or not. But right now I buy it and I'm stuck with it. Valve Steam is the real solution because it's frictionless to consume. But if you want consumers back on your side, give us more. That's what freaking competition is. I was going to use a different word, but that's what competition is. And there's no competition in this space. None. Epic has its silo. What's
the other
Ubisoft is another one.
Right.
Had it. I think they shuttered. Everything is over on Steam now. I think Steam has its silo. GOG has its silo. Apple has its silo. Blah blah blah. Everybody has these silos, but nobody is giving anything back.
And they don't have any need to, right?
They don't have any need to.
Raking in the money.
Yep. So the article is by Harvey Randall over at PCGamer.com, and the deck statement says, just because you are big enough to build something doesn't mean people will use it. And so it says, all right, I'm being glib here. In hindsight, it's 2020, but reading through this explanation has them saying no doy, like it's my new catchphrase. Evans is at least being a little self-reflective, though. As VP of Prime Gaming at Amazon, we failed multiple times to disrupt the game platform Steam. We were at least 250 times bigger, and we tried everything, but ultimately Goliath lost. The 15-plus year-long attempt to challenge Steam started before they were VP of Prime Gaming, but they never cracked the code. Again, there was no reason to move. You know what? Every game that...
Hey, you gotta give something to draw people there.
If you want to topple Steam, allow them to log into Prime Gaming and transfer their purchases over for free.
Oh, now that would be smart.
And then from that point on, they have the right to sell the game any purchases after the transfer. Any transfers from Steam over basically gives you a license because you've already purchased it once. All you're doing is leveling the playing field so there's no friction to where they're playing from.
Right. I mean, I think then people would do it.
And then any purchase from that point on the Steam or on the Prime platform gives us our rights back. Rights that people ignored because they transferred from physical media, where we had first sale doctrine, to electronic, and it was muddied because the purchase wasn't a purchase. We didn't own it. It was a license, and only until recently.
Yeah, have they actually announced that, even though it's been obvious to people that know anything about tech?
Right. Yeah. So it says, it's more naive fascination Evans has with the idea that Steam is good that baffles me. The mistake was that we underestimated what made consumers use Steam. It was a store, a social network, a library, and a trophy case all in one. Hardly a social network, but okay. And it worked well. No doy. Oh, look, I said it again. While the post is couched in a sort of inspirational LinkedIn corporate speech you might expect, Evans really does just seem to state that Amazon had a bit of an ego about, well, damn near everything. Hubris. But that's my challenge is I'm not going to change platforms if I'm so committed to Steam where everything is. Why would I go over there if I get the same deal?
Right. If there's nothing that's different or better, you're not going to. But also, I think people would be fearful unless they really knew Prime Gaming was going to be the place to be, because then they'd have the opposite problem. If they went over there, does that mean they're locked out of, say, Steam going forward?
Yeah.
If something happens.
Yeah, and therein lies another rub in that Amazon is changing its tune about Kindle books. And will it do the same thing for software?
Oh, right. Yeah, I think it's a fair question.
Yeah. If you've bought Kindle books in the past, you had better download them pretty darn quick because they're turning off that tap. You're not allowed anymore to download the book. Let's keep going. The next article, and here's why we call this Non Sequitur News, because one story does not follow another. Non Sequitur News is where this next article is housed. Georgia woman sues IVF clinic after she says that she gave birth to another person's family or another family's child. The person in Georgia is suing coastal fertility specialists after a mix-up allegedly led her to giving birth to another couple's biological child, and then they had to give him up.
Oh my.
A woman gave birth to a baby through IVF. Then she said she had to give him up, says a lawsuit. Mary Kakatos over at ABC News, also known as abcnews.go.com, because that flows real well. All right, so how did this work? So she had selected a sperm donor who looked like her with dirty blonde hair and blue eyes. She became pregnant and delivered a baby in December 2023, according to the lawsuit. Oh, it's not just... So, however, Murray, who is white and who, according to the complaint, had a white sperm donor, was shocked that when she gave birth to a baby boy she delivered was African American, the suit states. Murray bonded with the baby and wanted to keep him despite knowing that the clinic, Coastal Fertility Specialist, had likely implanted somebody else's embryo. She requested a DNA test, which confirmed her fears that the baby was not genetically related to her. When Murray contacted the clinic, staff alerted the baby's biological parents of the mix-up, according to the lawsuit. The other couple sued Murray for custody, and she turned over the baby 5 months after giving birth.
Oh, wow. I mean, this is not just a mix-up. This is pretty heart-wrenching.
Wow. So there's more to this, but it's up to you to go and check this out because in a nutshell, she's now suing. And it's astonishing that this could even take place. So
I hope they're looking into this company because the fact that this could happen is pretty scary.
Yep. Yeah, and it goes on to basically reiterate several times that they had to rely on that service and they did what they thought was right and they didn't want to give the baby up, but it's literally not their child. And the company just screwed up. So according to her lawsuit, Murray said that she doesn't know what happened to her own embryo, whether it was also mistakenly transferred to another couple or resulted in a pregnancy. Murray said that the process has made her question motherhood and so on. It's unbelievable that this could even happen. So,
and I mean, the reality is too, this could have happened and she wouldn't have known, and nor would the original parents have known either. This one just happened to be more obvious. But for instance, if she had one from parents that had a similar appearance to her,
you wouldn't notice until there are things that identify as being anomalous.
Right.
You do a blood test. That could be
much later in life or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And impactful. I mean, if you're genetically aligned, then you're a closer fit for blood donation or whatever else, treatment and stuff like that. to me, there's a whole lot of chaos in this because if somebody else has her baby,
well, and nobody seems to know, right?
They can choose not to disclose it. They can deny a DNA test. It would turn into...
Well, exactly. Like a court battle or something.
Yeah. Wild. All right. Well, let's keep going. The next article is over on the Marble Channel. Experiments show wild fish can recognize individual divers. So people have said that memory like a fish, but apparently...
Right. But I guess the expression is right. The meaning has been wrong.
Yeah. For years, scientific divers at a research station in the Mediterranean Sea had a problem. At some point in every field season, local fish would follow them and steal food intended for experimental rewards. Intriguingly, these wild fish appeared to recognize the specific diver who had previously carried food, choosing to follow them while ignoring other divers.
That's really interesting.
So this is from the Max Planck Society. I've only heard of the Institute, but I guess there's a society as well.
Yeah, me too. That's interesting.
It's over at phys.org. To find out if that was true, a team from the Max Planck Institute of Animal Behavior in Germany conducted a series of experiments while wearing a range of diving gear, finding that fish in the wild can discriminate among humans based on external visual cues. The experiments were designed to answer a question never before asked of wild fish. Are they capable of telling people apart? Overall, little scientific evidence exists to show that fish can recognize humans at all. One captive-bred species, archerfish, was able to recognize computer-generated images of human faces in laboratory experiments, but nobody has ever asked whether wild fish have that capacity, or indeed motivation, to recognize a human underwater. Says Malin Tomasak, a doctoral student at MPIAB and the University of Clermont-Auvergne, I guess, France? I think it's Auvergne. Anyway.
Auvergne or something.
So, but now a team at MPIAB have asked, and the fish have responded, and wild fish can recognize individual humans. It was published in Biology Letters. Lends credence to the possibility that fish can have differentiated relationships with specific humans. Hey, Fred, is that you?
I mean, I suspect people that are around fish are going to go, well, yeah, but I don't think this is known to the general public or even scientists, right? Like if you have fish, do they react specifically to one person, or I don't know?
I think in an aquarium, maybe when you're the handler, the fish come walking right up to you, right? Like, hey, give me your wallet.
Right, and this is kind of similar.
Yeah. So a training diver, Solar, started by trying to attract the attention of local fish, and she wore a bright red vest and fed fish while swimming a length of 50 meters. Over time, they removed conspicuous cues until she wore plain dive gear, kept the food hidden, and fed the fish only after they had followed her a full 50 meters. Of dozens of fish species inhabiting the marine station, 2 species of sea bream in particular, willingly engaged in the training sessions. Sea bream are best known to us as fish that we buy to eat, yet they surprise the scientists by their curiosity and willingness to learn. So they would follow her.
Interesting.
They would follow her around. After 12 days of training, roughly 20 fish would reliably follow them around on the training swims.
Oh, that's so neat. I hope somebody took some video of that.
And then they tried it with somebody else, and they followed Solar. The number of fish following Solar increased significantly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. Pretty cool. I like that.
I do too.
All right, let's get on to our last article for the February 19th, 2025 article or episode of Non Sequitur News. This last article is in the Marble Channel. This dancing robot can boogie its way through a human attack. In a video that Unitary
I'm not
Robotics...
sure where to go from that.
Yeah, we're building robots now that can fight humans. Great.
Right, I'm like, is this a good thing?
No. So its hapless G1 robot, the Unitree Robotics, released on February 18th on a YouTube video, is having a good time dancing. Rather, well, I may add, is what the author says, and this is over at Vice. When it's suddenly set upon by an attacker with a series of blows that quickly escalate from errant soccer ball to giant cotton swab to a wooden end of a giant cotton swab, they said it turned their stomach to watch. But apparently, Matt Janser put this article together over at Vice.com. And the video is here, I guess. I'm going to hit play and I'll mute it. So here's the robot dancing, and they throw a ball at it, and it's just dancing, and then they hit it with a stick, and then they hit it with a giant Q-tip. Whoa.
It defends itself and keeps dancing, it looks like.
That was really interesting. It puts its hands up to block the blow to its head. It just goes like that, but it keeps on dancing.
Yeah, that was pretty complex.
Or was it that the human knew that they were going to put their hands up?
I want to see an extended version of the video.
All right. Well, Tech Radar, which spent some time at with the G1 at CES earlier this year, said despite its mobility and dexterity, G1's capabilities are largely a product of remote control and canned or pre-programmed movements. Perhaps that's why Unitree hedges by calling the G1 a humanoid agent AI avatar, since the word robot tends to suggest autonomy or more autonomy. I agree. So this article is actually kind of spurred by the Tech Radar article. There's a quote here. The feature was just developed in the past few days and hasn't been rolled out to customers yet, wrote Unitree for the YouTube video's description. There are also variations in functionality across different models and versions of the robot. Unitree doesn't say which update or when the update will release to existing customers. So it isn't just a dancing robot. It has after a hard day of smashing walnuts, soldering, and flipping pancakes with its nimble fingers, that can mimic a human's light touch well enough to accomplish complex tasks. This was the limit that I set for robots basically taking over human actions, the fidelity of our fingers. We have fine motor skills. Typically,
and historically, robots have not.
They have to be purpose-built.
I think that's changed, though.
So say what you want, that'll run you $16,000, which doesn't seem that bad for an ultra-limber robot with more lifelike movements than the herky-jerky humanoid robots of recent past. It's encouraging to see a robot that seems more, well, human-like in its movements. I don't know about encouraging.
I still don't know why everybody wants human-like robots. Why not have the ones with the same functionality that don't look like humans?
Yeah. Yeah, the whole video, it learned to block our blows. It's only a matter of time until they learn to evade our security systems and hack our nuclear weapons. Dun, dun, dun.
On that note.
Yeah, it's all cute right there, but then it's going to stand up and kick your ass.
But it could also teach people how to dance.
That's true. And when it gets it wrong, it'll just break their arms.
Oh, okay. That went dark.
Yeah. So we're going to hop into the arms of our Unitree attack robot, and it'll carry us back to the main page of ohmtown.com, where you can go and become a citizen, read all kinds of articles, and then submit them to us via a seventh icon that'll appear right there. But that's it. I am Mayor Watt. I'm signing off, and I'm taking the AI with me.
Good night, hometown citizens. Thanks for joining us for today's Non Sequitur News. Be back tomorrow for another episode, and while you're waiting for it, either watch our replay or go back and watch all of our 1,800 plus episodes.
1,800, yeah. Tell a friend. Be sure to follow us, download the podcast. Come on, do all of those things. We're everywhere. Bye.